What is this? Oh, what the hell is going on? There's more! Is this Super Meat Boy? Oh! I'm assuming. I've got a bad feeling about this one. Oops. What is that thing flying? What is that? It's an enemy. But... I see, okay. I had a feeling that was what it was after seeing sand falling out. Another shade. This is a challenge map. Ecclesia had this too. So yeah, this is Ecclesia, essentially. Again? There's no floating thingy, so not again, I guess. Ecclesia's challenge maps are really, really hard. This is actually a joke compared to Ecclesia's. Like, they were seriously super troll. High potion, that's a first, I think. Nice. I feel like there's another shade here. Is that overkill? Oh yeah, that was. You're so powerful in this game, seriously. It's ridiculous. I need mana. Potion. Huh. I can't believe there's actually more. Oh, there's a creepy doll. Oh, it's a summoner. Oh, what the hell? Hold on a second, this is really disgusting. Yeah, that was disgusting. Crap, it's stupid chaos. If there's another shade here, then I can't access it. Oh, I guess I can just recover my sand really fast. It's not too bad. Military armor? Is that good? It's higher defense, lower damage. Nah. This is so insane. There must be a boss behind here. Somewhere. That's a neurotoxin enemy, isn't it? Gotta be more careful here. I'm so OP. Nice summon. Nice summon. What the hell? Oh, they drop elemental beads. So you can actually grind gear here, right? Ah! Chicken. What, that's it? There's no boss? Oh, here it is. Okay, I feel like I'm gonna die here. Let's do it. Oh, crows? Raven Lord. Can I just do this and cheese it? Oh my god, fiddlesticks! Crap. Oh, this is insane. Can I freeze time? Okay. This, I can actually cheese it with Plasma, I'm pretty sure. Plasma's okay. Okay, that's a lot of birds. Is this boss rush? I feel like there's more bosses after this. Someone homes in on you. What is it weak to? Is it weak to slash? Yeah, it is. But it's hard to get close enough to slash it. Where to go? Oh my god! Okay, calm down. I didn't refill my potions. Let's eat a jerky. No, 2 jerkies. Delicious. That purple one! Holy, this boss is so annoying. This is more annoying than the final boss. I wonder if this was open prior to fighting the final boss. I'm stupid. That was really bad. It's getting smaller, isn't it? Or is it? Oh, what the hell? I see, that's what it does when you get too close. I might actually die. Legit might actually die. Yeah, I'm actually gonna die here. If it is boss rush, I'm probably dead after this boss. It's just camping. It's so annoying. It's camping one spot. Pretty slick. I'm gonna spam pots, I guess. This is so scary. This boss is insane. Am I doing something wrong? I'm just using the high potion. There we go. Get out of here. Whew. Raven Lord, achievement unlocked. Nether Orb? Rip enemies apart with dimensional rifts. This is probably a magic one, so let's put it in slot 1. Wait, what? Is that it? Oh. Is it the same as... Is it the same every time? It's different this time. So maybe it's just random. Wait, this is Nether, right? I don't see any dimensional rifts. Nice. She got it. Still affected by chaos though. Gold ring this time. I need more potions. Oh wow, that actually hurts. That's a good one. Ah, the Roomba! This was a crazy experience, huh? That's a new enemy. Oh, I'm so powerful. It's actually kind of scary. Okay, this is new. This looks like the Emperor's room. Am I gonna fight the Emperor? No, I'm gonna fight... Oh, what the hell? Oh, I'm so dead. This guy looks crazy. That's a Castlevania attack. He seems like a caster so far. What do these do? Oh, I'm dealing so much damage right now, it's gonna die really fast. Ow. It's gonna die right here, watch. There we go. Easy. Easy peasy. Ifrit. Achievement unlocked. Forbidden Tome? Oh, that's so badass. Oh, this is badass too. Wow, look at those stats. How many of these are there? Forbidden Tome is probably a blade weapon. 30 damage? It's not as strong as my my blade orb. Yeah, it's just this, except projectile version. Huh. Alright, so I'll just use this then. Might as well. It's lower damage at the moment, but I can always upgrade it. So I have a ranged weapon now. That's actually insane. Are there more? I wonder how many there are. Rip! Vel'Koz OP. Level up? Oh, no level up. Huh. I'm pretty high level now. It pierces too! Are you kidding me? This is beyond broken then. I thought it was just a single target, but it pierces. Oh my god, that's so busted. Scrambled eggs. Yeah, this is actually broken. This is so broken. It's absurdly broken. Oh, doesn't take much from that. I'm getting more beads as well. It's pretty awesome. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, I hate this room so much. Should just do that. Oh, I don't want to kill these. That's so rude. This is actually broken. Seriously. So broken. Alright, what's the boss? Same boss? Is that it? Same boss. I have your attack now. If I just use this, it's gonna die so fast. Oh, whatever. Slash if you want, I'm just gonna punch you. If it doesn't destroy those things... Oh, it disappeared. Okay. He's dead. It's broken. Eternal Crown. Oh, this is new as well. I wonder if there is more. I'm so OP right now. Let me upgrade my stuff. Make myself even more OP. Some more pots could be nice too. Okay, Jin Inferno. Corruption. Heal over time. Missing health increases melee damage. Reduces damage taken. Just leave that for now. Empire is good to upgrade. It's actually really, really powerful. Okay, let's grab Jin Inferno. Damn it. My ingredients, though. I could sell some items. Or I could just buy items. Pretty low on money, huh? 100% done this area, okay. At least one of them is 100%. Let's try this out. Oh, whoops. Oh, it's that. It's okay, I guess. Damn it, Roomba. Zell. Oh! Right. That attack. It's my attack now. Get out of here. Oh! Oh my god! Get wrecked! That's so cool. Yeah, this area is a lot easier than... Uh-oh. Huh. A lot easier than Ecclesia's boss rush or bonus area. There we go, magic. Magic is everything. Except when you gotta do this. Oh, a doggy! I just killed a doggy. I'm evil. Run by them. Yeah, this is actually really, really broken. Holy crap. I wonder if the bosses are random. Like, I got Ifrit twice in a row, right? Maybe I'll get the Raven again this time. Or maybe there's more bosses. Oh, this is the Raven again, isn't it? It should be easier now. This projectile weapon is so dumb. And it's weak to it too. Look at that. It's over. It's just over. If I use this. Oh crap. Yeah, this boss is kind of difficult, I feel. I say kinda difficult. Damn it, I hate how that cancels your attack. He doesn't fully charge. Whoa, 500 damage? Oh my god, swaying fiddlesticks. So annoying. There we go, easy. Easy pickings. Familiar Kobo. Oh! So this is where you get all that stuff. This bonus area has everything. Oh, this thing is cute. It's not a cat, but it's pretty awesome. Robots are cute too. So that thing drops a beat every time. Yeah, this is the grind area, I guess. Grind here for items or levels or stuff. It's nice. It's nice to give the player an area like this. It fires a laser? That's so good. You get free high potions too. Oh, that's gonna finish my quest, isn't it? Finally. After like a billion hours. Oh, that was cheesy. Huh. One shot? Ceiling star. ridiculous. Just ridiculous. Alright, what's next? New boss? Oh, it's the crow again. Before I die here. That'd be so awkward. Die. It has to be dead soon. Now. Oh, did I miss? This is like Legion in Castlevania. So annoying. It just like sprays you with random garbage. It's a floating mass. I mean, Legion has lasers too. This thing doesn't have lasers. It has a little bat. Yeah, purple crow. Elemental beads. Okay, so this must be it then. No more. We'll do one more time, just in case. Oh, I needed that. Damn it. Weapon is so good. The fact that it doubles as a melee weapon as well. Again? I'm so sick of Swain. I'm just gonna mash it. This is easier anyway. It's over. Okay. I guess the game is over then, too. I've done all I could. Beat the game, beat the bosses, beat the final boss, beat the challenge mode, which wasn't very challenging. Map is at 99%. Can't help it. Is that it? I think that's it. Cool. Alright. That was really fun. Let's do closing statements. Alright, closing statements. So as always, this is going to be a reflection, not a review. Just going to reiterate some of the stuff that I talked about during the playthrough with a little more detail. Maybe not a little more. Some things probably more than others. Starting with audio-visual. So the music in this game, I think, is overall great. Some of the tracks stand out more than others, like Ilana's Castle. Others, I think, are a little bit weaker, but I think they're still enjoyable from an atmospheric perspective. It's just not something I would listen to outside of the game. Ilana's Castle, though, I would. Strangely enough, I think the spread of music strikes me more of a Metroid-style philosophy than Castlevania. Metroid relies a lot on mood and atmosphere. Music that fits each area and just plays in the background to break the silence and set up the mood. There are some occasional epic compositions, especially the boss themes, but they're uncommon. Castlevania offers more upbeat, symphonic, melodic styles of music. You can bob your head to it and just feel like a badass killing things. It fits the areas, but not as much in an atmospheric kind of way. More so in a stylistic way. So for example, a spooky castle, it could have ominous, horrifying ambient music in the background, creaking effects, all of that for atmosphere. Or it can have a Victorian or medieval era style song with a little bit of a modern twist. That's what Castlevania does. Overall, I don't think the music has that many flaws, but then again, music is subjective, like a lot of things. For the sound effects, I think this can be criticized a little bit more. While I think it's mostly functional from a gameplay perspective, there are some improvements that can be done. So for example, when you hit an enemy with an attack they're strong against or weak against, you can have a different pitch, maybe like a duller pitch if they're strong against it, or a sharper one if they're weak against it. The color numbers are fine, but having both audio and visual working together is usually the best. Now the biggest concern I have with sound is voiceovers. What are the voiceovers in this game? Grunting and laughing. It's alright, but I would want more. So in Castlevania, I'm going to do a lot of these comparisons, because, you know, it's heavily Castlevania influenced. Some of the enemies, when you kill them, they do a crazy scream. Really creepy scream sometimes. You don't really get that in this game. They just kind of explode and make a little sound sometimes. Nothing crazy. And for other characters, like Lunaius, and the ones that actually have a, I'm doing air quotes, a voice, I would want more, not just grunts. Because, I mean, especially because I talked about this in the very beginning, a lot of the names are phonetically ambiguous, the way they're constructed. And since the game kind of has this exoticism to it, basically any kind of voice would have worked to bring the characters to life. I mean, you can even have gibberish dialogue, except for the names. So they say the names normally, as they're supposed to be pronounced, and then the rest of it is gibberish. You can even have like short voice lines for dialogue that isn't too important to the game. Maybe for the major dialogue you have bigger, longer lines, but for ones that aren't that important, you might have really short phrases. Like, you know, you see, like this kind of stuff. Some games do that. A lot of games actually do that. That's fine too. I'm okay with that. I don't like it, but I'm okay with it. Hire voice actors. I always say that, and I know it's really difficult for indie devs especially to do this, but I actually think this should be a priority. Actors need jobs too, right? I think this should be a standard going forward for all non-retro games. This game really isn't that retro, but you know, that could just be me, because I'm kind of old. Castlevania has had voice acting questionably well done since about the 90s. And they've been in the games inconsistently, but, you know, it's still there every once in a while. Games change, standards change, devs need to change with them. Many gamers want and even expect your game to be voiced, even if it's gibberish language, and believing people won't hold your game to a modern standard is delusional. But then again, if money is the issue, they can't afford it, that's fine. Just putting that out there because it is something that should be addressed. Moving on to visuals. I think this one's a little bit mixed as well. Graphically, the game is great. The art is great. Nothing's really unclear, but I think it's one of those areas that needs more work. First of all, the numbers could use some work. Sure, the different color numbers show damage values, but you need to distinguish them in a little bit of a better way, I think. So many games, the way they do it is different damage types have different fonts. So if it's magic damage, it's a certain color. If it's physical damage, it's a certain color. If it's not effective, maybe the numbers wobble differently, maybe side to side and kind of fall away. It could make it a little bit smaller too. Make it look feeble because it's not very effective. And if it's effective, numbers might shake a little bit harder, maybe float upwards more sharply, and also they're bigger. Just some more visual clarity. With some of the orbs, like the ones that deal AoE damage when it makes contact with an enemy, they kind of get in the way, right? So the numbers can get kind of cluttered. It's not really that big of a deal because most of the game is pretty clear, but just a little extra polish in this department could make it even better. The main issue is that this game uses the Castlevania style UI a little bit too hard, to the point where some of the annoying aspects of that system also made its way into this game. Let's move on to the big one. It's not the most important one, but it's the big one that I want to talk about because this one actually bugged me. Narrative. And narrative always bugs me. I always talk about narrative a lot in games that, at least attempt decent narrative. Because if you're going to attempt it, then I want to see some effort. If you're not going to attempt it, then whatever. First of all, though, let me preface all of this with a bit of an overview. I always say this. Metroidvanias are not known for strong stories. That's not to say they don't have them or they can't pull it off. It's just historically, and even now, the norm is that Metroidvanias are not like that. They're games that heavily revolve around combat, ability mechanics, and exploration. The game subtly does world building through abilities and interactions with characters and environment. That's what fuels the genre. It's implicit narrative, not really explicit. Trying to tell an explicit story that's complex and nuanced using this genre is difficult. So most devs opt for a more hands-off approach. So for example, a simple folklore-style story like Ori and the Blind Forest, which many people praise for its story. It's got a serviceable story. It's got strong themes, which they constantly enforce. It has good actions and interactions between the characters and the environment, all that stuff. It's functional. It's not a great story. Many people have low standards nowadays for what they consider a strong story. Ori is a functional one. It's good. It's fine. There's no problem with it. It's just not as good as what people say it is, because there's a whole world of stories out there that people have not experienced yet. And if you haven't experienced it, you have no idea where the line is drawn, the limits to what can be told in a story. And this whole thing is subjective. If they like it, if they think it's good, in quotes, if it triggers their emotions in some way, all of which are subjective, then it's a perceived strong story. Even if the story is a mess, if it resonates with them in some way, they perceive it as good. And this is problematic. There's always a degree of subjectivity to this perception. What exactly makes a good story anyway? How can we even answer that fairly? It's hard to say, right? To me, a good story should be nuanced. It should have a theme. It should understand the workings of the theme, its value, but also its limitations. The story has to manipulate the characters in a creative way. Their actions and interactions, it must be like a symphony. It has its highs and lows, developments and changes. The science of it all, the science of the world, must be told and explored in the story. And this sounds kind of weird, I know. But despite what people say, despite people saying stories are known as an art, experienced writers should know it more as a science. The biology of the story, the core underlying features of the story, the structure, their growth, the chemistry of the story, the careful mixture of elements in terms of games, audio-visual character, how they mix together to do the world building, how they mix together to tell the story. There's also player input and player interaction. In what way does the player and their interaction affect the story? The physics of the story, the nature of the world, how things work, and how things work with each other. The rhetoric. People are keen about this aspect especially. They know that this is part of it, because rhetoric is more artistic than scientific. The thoughts, the feelings, the beliefs, expectations, tones, these elements behind the story elements. What does it all mean? What are you trying to tell us? So that was a pretty brief, a little bit long-winded, but still brief summary of the elements of narrative. And this is something that most people wouldn't bother with. They probably don't care at all. You know, this is just a little bit of the surface. There are more things to consider, but I'll leave it at that. So back to Timespinner then. Why bother having an introduction like that? Because this game is a narrative disaster. To start things off, I think the overall story, the concept, is functionally fine. It's a typical save the world story. It moves the game along in a mostly linear manner, and you can still enjoy the Metroidvania elements. If that's all you care about, then that's fine. The game is fine that way. But the game tries to do more. If you're looking for a compelling, nuanced story, this is not it. This game is written like a children's story, but it uses adult themes, and it uses them in a pretty poor way. The characters are one-dimensional, pretty ironic for a time travel story, to the point where it's kind of painful. I've been thinking about this for a while, but maybe it's deliberate. Maybe it's supposed to be super simple, but even if it were deliberate, the execution was atrocious. So starting off with the character that I mentioned multiple times already before, during the playthrough, Nell. Why does Nell exist? What is her role, her function? Is she not the moral compass of the story? Lunias's and the player's guide to understanding the narrative in case we miss the point? Things aren't always so simple, she says. There's not always a hero and a villain, she says. Paraphrasing, of course. War makes monsters of all of us, she says. And yet, why does Lunias not care at all? Nell talks, Lunias hears, but she doesn't listen. Scientist guy, Nuvius is your father. Lunias replies, I know. I don't care. I'm still gonna kill him. Kill, 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 kill. Grrr. Lacaime anger. That's her character? Are we supposed to see this as a sign that the protagonist is flawed? Well, sure. Probably. Flawed characters are great and interesting, except when they're not. There's no remarkable character development whatsoever. There's no learning experience. What are we learning from this? What are the themes? Why does she not listen to her new friends? Why does she never change throughout the story? Why is she stuck in this one-track mind kind of thinking throughout the entire story? And if you analyze it, it'd be, okay, my mother's very important. My culture's very important. It's great. But that's all you're getting from it. Why does Lunias become the Eternal Mother in one of the good endings? I think there's a lot of excuses and reasons to weasel out of this really strange conclusion. But I think there's no reason to have something like this, because of what happens. You become a benevolent god after murdering your own father and the previous perceived god. Then you get worshipped by everyone, including your mother from another timeline, who's alive now, so that's fine. But how did she get here? Well, she wanted to kill, kill, kill. Grr, anger. Wow, what a sacrifice, right? In the very beginning of the story, it's like, you're gonna have to sacrifice everything you love. And she kind of did, if you were to, really dig deep. She sacrificed her existence to be a god. Huh? Yeah, it's a really strange narrative. What are we supposed to learn from this? It's just ridiculous. It's just so juvenile. And, a lot of stories are like this, especially children's stories. They have protagonists who become heroes and gods, and they become worshipped in some way. And from a narrative perspective, the reason why they do this in those kinds of stories is because they see a character, the reader or viewer, whoever it is, they can see a character that is not unlike themselves. And this character can achieve greatness through insert whatever character traits here. And then this character can become their role model, someone they can aspire to become like, to better themselves and achieve something remarkable in the future. Yeah, I can definitely see people lining up and wanting to become Lunias the murder machine in the future. Great message. It's really, really disconnected. Some of the hints in the beginning of the game, really misleading as well. This isn't one of those stories where you're left thinking about your actions, whether or not there could have been another way, which is usually what time travel stories do. There's no nuance to it. It's just simply good versus evil through a biased lens. The main character is always right, the enemies are always wrong, you grow stronger, you beat them up, whether they like it or not, and you save the world and get worshipped. That's it. And sure, it makes you feel like a badass, but it looked like they actually do care about narrative with all the memories and whatever their agenda is, and all the stuff that they want you to feel, the rhetorical aspects of it. It just lacks the other elements of the story. And here's what I always say. Tell the story however you like. Writers, devs, I don't care what you are. If you have the guts to tell your story, then go for it. You don't need to care about what other people say. You don't need to care about what I say. It doesn't really matter, because you can tell your story the way you want to. And as long as you like your story, it's fine. Even if a billion people dislike it, it's fine, because you do you. That's what creativity should be. You shouldn't be afraid of people criticizing your work. That said, though, let's continue this criticism. This game has a clear agenda, okay? I get it. It's fine. And, to be honest, I don't have a problem with it. So what is this game doing exactly? Main character, dark-skinned female character, beating up mostly men. The first antagonist in the game is a young white male. Most of the characters in this game, especially the supporting cast, are women. The male characters are in submissive positions, usually. The one evil female character that you meet, you defeat her, but she survives and she's allowed to change. All the male characters are dehumanized and they are killed. We just don't care that Ilana also killed a ton of people, even ones that were affiliated with your friends from the past. But we ignore that. I think it's great to have female characters in a game. People of color, basically anything and everything in games is fine with me. That has never been a problem for me. I know this is a problem for a lot of people, but really it's not that big of a problem. As long as it's actually for the sake of story and not politics. Especially when the game does a 180 role reversal. And that's what this game does. So for years, people have complained that a lot of female characters were automatically relegated to certain roles in games. And it's true, they were. Women were given roles as housewives, cheerleaders, obligatory love interests, damsels in distress. This is a major one. And on the other end, if they're not supporting characters, then they're antagonists, such as an evil witch who is ugly, manipulative, and must be killed. And that's how a lot of games are, because the demographic is young males. So they assume this is what the demographic wants. And I can see how that's a problem. I want to see more diversity. I want to see more takes on existing archetypes and even stereotypes. If you don't like the way it is, change it. But is this game really doing that? I think it tries to. And to be fair, I really do think it's trying to, but I don't think it's doing a very good job. Like I said, it's the whole 180 role reversal. So what I mean by this is, instead of treating all people as equal, this game is trying to avenge the sins of the past by repeating them in the future with a slight twist. Men are the housewives, cheerleaders, the love interest, the damsel in distress. The villain gets no word, is mindlessly evil without nuance, is innately wrong and flawed, disgusting, inhuman, and must die. The evil witch, if you will. Really? So that's what the past has taught you. Fight fire with fire. Fight injustice with injustice. It's really tone deaf. And if you really want to improve the landscape in games, this is not the way to do it. So let me give you some examples of similar stories that aim to do what Timespinner does. Obviously not the same thing, but you'll probably get what I mean. So spoilers, spoiler alert. I'm gonna talk about some games with quite a bit of detail. So let's start with the game that probably inspired Timespinner almost entirely. Castlevania Order of Ecclesia. The main character, Shanoa, female character, not really dark-skinned, but she has black hair, so her genetics have a sense of exoticism to her, especially considering most of the characters in this world have blonde or brown hair. In the beginning of the game, Shanoa, who's part of the eponymous Order of Ecclesia, is chosen to take part in a ritual. Sound familiar? There's a white dude who interacts with her, Albus, another member of the Order. And he doesn't flip a table in the first minute of the game. But he freaks out that Shinoa was chosen to partake in the ritual instead of him, and he has a tantrum. Sounds familiar, huh? Right? Moving on. Albus screws up Shinoa's ritual. Also familiar, not the same character though. The parallel anyway. And in doing so, causes her to lose her memories and emotions, turning her into effectively a blank slate. Their master, Barlow, has to retrain Shinoa and prepare her for the ritual again because Albus stole the pieces necessary to complete it, and he orders her to hunt him down and retrieve them. Blah 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 blah, stuff happens. Albus eventually, suspiciously, returns the pieces of this thing, this MacGuffin, to her. The reason, we don't know. Eventually, Albus reveals that the ritual would kill her and that Barlow betrayed them. But in trying to take her place, he goes mad from the magic. And after he dies, Albus fires his memories into Shinoa with his magic gun thingy. And it was revealed that they had a very close relationship, akin to siblings. And because of that, he wanted to take Shinoa's place in the ritual to protect her. Why? Well, apparently the ritual kills you. So he said, better me than you, basically. Now, when Shinoa confronted Barlow after this, he reveals something else. The ritual wasn't to stop Dracula, it was to revive him. And she would be this human sacrifice to his Dark Lord. So Shinoa defeats Barlow, and Barlow uses himself as a sacrifice to revive Dracula instead. He gets some dying words, and he does something crazy. Eventually, Shinoa kills Dracula, but, you can't bring Albus back. She mourns for him. She remembers him as the kind brother that he was. It's not the best story. It's not even remotely close to the best story. But as you can see, it has some pretty crazy similarities to Timespinner. Especially early on, not so much later. The key characters, though, more importantly, all of them have multiple dimensions to them that are eventually revealed as you progress through the story. Timespinner, not so much. The big reveal was that Nuvius is Lunius's father, but we kind of get those hints almost immediately. So, with this frame established, let's take a look at Timespinner's characters. Table Flipper, terrible character. His father was shown to be pretty awful in the memories, and in the very end, he even got lectured. Nuvius had the chance to redeem himself in the past. Why couldn't Lunius just talk to him and try to change him instead of insulting him, provoking him, and then killing him? And then he explodes when he dies, so he doesn't get any extra words. We don't learn about his past, we don't learn about his motivations. We don't know why he's the way he is, other than Empire evil and you gotta kill your parents to become the next in line or something. That's it. It's me orc, me emperor, me rule. It's my right to rule. But we don't learn about anything more than that. We don't learn about potential motivations, why he's like that. Maybe social pressures. Maybe his parents put a lot of pressure on him, his father especially. Maybe in his youth, his expectations were the same as Lunius's. We can draw some parallels like that. Your people expect something from you. We kind of get that, but it's not really talked about specifically. It's implicit, very tiny implicit details, but that could have been fleshed out more as one of the main themes. Legacy, expectations, and maybe use it to show that people with the same motivations can end up differently. Nuvius ended up being a murderer, a terrible father, a terrible person because of X and Y. Lunius, same expectations, same type of character, ends up being better, a better person. Characters are deliberate elements in a story. They're there for a reason, whether it's a single scene or the entirety of the story. They also have a purpose, otherwise they wouldn't be included. From the women-dominated society on Windaria to the past on Lackheim with the Resistance, the medic, the cook, both of whom are male characters, the leader and the scientist, female characters, Ilana as the prodigy, the princess, the queen, with actual defeat dialogue. She doesn't just explode, she gets the chance to redeem herself. Almost everything in Timespinner serves the purpose of making women look strong. And again, this is not a bad thing. It's just executed poorly because of that pure role reversal. We don't really get anything new out of that. You just changed male to female and female to male, that's it. Where's the character development? Where's the nuance and change? I want some character development, purpose to the characters. Even if it's simple, like Order of Ecclesia. It's better than what we have here. This is going on for a really long time, but I have to talk about this. I feel like I have to talk about this. Another example in recent memory is Death's Gambit. Now, this was another game that's, kind of messy in terms of story. Lots of awkward, dreamlike sequences, a little bit hazy on the world-building aspects, but it still had strong women in a way that wasn't patronizing to any gender. The main character, Soren, young, probably white male, goes to war and dies like a loser. He's revived as an agent of death, the Grim Reaper, to stop a group of people who are trying to cheat death and change the world into a place where everyone is immortal. The antagonist is a woman named Endless, and she's extremely powerful, calculated, and ruthless. During Soren's quest, one of the first characters he meets is a woman called Ione, who is an underling of Endless. She's a vicious warrior, but Soren eventually defeats her. And upon defeat, she was disgraced and removed from Endless's army. And after that, she's like, "Grr, I hate you, because you ruined my life." Now, if you stopped there, that would be Timespinner. But it doesn't stop there. As we get to know her better, she eventually cools down, and her motivations are revealed after she actually starts to talk to you. The reason why she was fighting, the reason why she joined Endless, was because of her father, who died in battle and was made immortal. But immortality comes at a price. Eventually, you lose your mind, and your body becomes monstrous, because, you're a zombie. Ione's father is a boss in the game, called the Dark Knight. He's a cannibal. He's kind of like Venom, Marvel's Venom. It's like an oozy black thing, changes form, big teeth. And the first time you meet him, you don't actually meet him yet, but when you enter his area, Ione's there. And we know her as this warrior. Vicious warrior, kill, 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 blah, blah, blah. But when you get there, and even before that, she kind of talks about her past and stuff, so you get a kind of tender side to her. When you get there, she's talking to Venom, the Dark Knight. She's talking to this monster. And at that time, the monster is the father, feeding on a corpse. Delicious, right? But she's talking to him in a way where it's like a daughter and a father talking. A conversation they would have. It was one way, because the father's a monster and can't talk and just growls. But she was there, telling him about her day, telling him about stuff, life. And you get to see this side of her, another side of her. She isn't just that warrior, because, people aren't like that, unless you're in Timespinner. People are not just one-dimensional. They have other sides to them, sometimes really mundane sides to them. And when you get there, Ione's like, "This is my father, the one I told you about." And it's like meeting the dad on the first date, except it's a horrible date. And she's like, "Can you do me a favor and kill him? I know it's not going to do anything. He's just going to come back to life, but it'll make me feel better, because it hurts me to see him like this, in this form. He's still my father, but he's also a monster now. And, I would feel a lot better if you did this. And you got to do it anyway, to get past the area." So it's story gameplay integration. Yay. And Soren's like, "All right, I'll do it." And then the moment she leaves, the father freaks out, which is really strange. You might not think about it, but it's not just the typical boss encounter where you enter the room and the boss freaks out and starts attacking you, right? Because someone else was there first. Why did the father not attack Ione? Because deep down, even though he's a monster, he probably still recognized her. Subtle details. And then you defeat the father, blah, blah, blah. Next time you talk to Ione, she's like, "Thanks for doing that for me. I was really angry. I blamed you for everything. But, it was just me trying to escape reality. I shouldn't have done that. Endless must be stopped." And then she joins you. Kind of like a friend. So yeah, you have this female character with strong motivations. Sure, there's a man behind her motivations, but it's her father. And you can kind of make assumptions about what kind of relationship they had before. Obviously, it wasn't a bad one, because she was talking to him. So beyond this rough warrior exterior is still this tender person. Character complexity. Now I'm going to continue on with talking about Death's Gambit a little bit, because I want to talk about Endless. Endless, the last boss. is actually Soren's mother. Now, why is this important? The reason why Soren went to war was because of his mother, and this was revealed in the story through flashbacks. He and his mother were very close. She was kind and gentle, but she was also a very good warrior. She left to fight in the war, but she never came back. So, when Soren was old enough, he enlisted in the army to look for her, to follow in her footsteps. He ended up dying like a loser, as I said. But this is what brought them together again. His mother was his conviction, his reason for being, his everything. And Endless, what his mother became, this undead thingy, immortal, monstrous. She's not really monstrous. She's not like Ione's father. She still had human form. Soren was her conviction, her reason for being, and why she did this in the first place. This game has themes about legacy, family, war, and she wanted a world where people wouldn't have to lose their loved ones anymore. It's pretty cliched for like an anti-hero style antagonist. But whatever, it gets the job done, right? That's all that matters. And eventually, these two characters, whose motivations were each other, have to fight. And eventually, Soren would have to kill his mother, which is horrible. This is the opposite of what he wanted to do when he was joining the war. Endless was the general of the enemy army. He had to do it. Everyone answered to her. She waited for you at the top of the citadel in the very end. And she was the badass. But beyond that, there's more to her. She didn't just explode, and that's it. Her fight was actually narratively brilliant. So she starts off in her normal gear, armor and all that stuff, and after the first phase, she takes off her helmet, revealing her face. Undead, rotting, dehumanized. But despite this, her exchanges with Soren reveal that she's still human, still his mother. Her words, the way they were delivered by her actor, full of remorse, regret. She didn't want to fight him, but still felt like it was too late. They've both gone over the line, and they had to fight to the end. So the reason why I chose this game as an example was to show that characters have diversity and complexities. Male, female, anything else, doesn't matter. You can subvert established norms. You can have both strong male and female characters without diminishing the other. The point is telling a story where your characters have the capability of showing a variety of emotions, of showing more of themselves than just one dimension. This is what Timespinner lacks. And there are hundreds of other examples I could use, whether it's from video games or other types of media. Timespinner, unfortunately, doesn't hit the mark. And it's really unfortunate because I had high expectations for this game. So, I don't know where I saw this. I think someone shared it with me, or maybe it was on Twitter or something. There's this line that I've seen. I don't know where it's from even. Somebody probably said it at some point. Somebody important maybe. But blowing out someone else's candle won't make yours shine any brighter. I think that's a line that this game needs to listen to. If you really want equality, if you really want representation, you can do it in a way that isn't demeaning and doesn't diminish others. You can rise above whatever perceived injustice you feel. And that's always the problem when you have a political bias and you try to put that in your game. For me, I just care about good stories. I don't care about what you're trying to sell me. And the thing about selling things as well, first of all, your target demographic, the people who agree with you and are already on board, you don't need to sell them anything. They already bought it. People who are against you, they're never going to buy it because they're going to hate you for no reason. But the people who are on the fence, people who aren't sure or unaware, if you use a terrible story to try and convince them of something, it's not going to work, most likely. If you do want a story to have this kind of political or narrative impact, whatever it is you're going for, put in the effort to make the story a little better. That's all I want. I just want good stories. But again, if you want to tell the story this way and you're fine with it, you don't have to listen to me. You don't have to listen to anyone. Do you, do whatever you want. If story's not important, if you can just ignore it, that's fine too. You can ignore this entire aspect of the game and just play the game. Because that's what the next part is about, gameplay. I've been going on for a long time already. I'm going to try and finish this as fast as I can. Gameplay is the most important part of the game, actually, because it's a Metroidvania. Metroidvanias are gameplay-centric games, blah blah blah, I said that already. Problem, though, is that this game focuses way too much on mimicking Castlevania elements to the point where it doesn't really establish its own style. Order of Ecclesia. Glyphs meet Timespinner's orbs. Basically the same thing. Now, I didn't try too much, but in Order of Ecclesia, you can mix the glyphs and create combinations that do different things. You might be able to do that in this game. I didn't try it. Even the menu. Everything in the menu looks like Castlevania. From the HP to the SP to the condition, like actually looks like that. It's kind of awkward even. Items maxing out at 9. The way the items work, it's Castlevania. And that's not really a bad thing. And I said this during the playthrough too. I like it. I'm perfectly fine with this. It's got good gameplay. And the story and whatever other elements don't diminish that. You can't take that away from the game, even if you don't like it for petty or malicious reasons. But I would have wanted more. Look at all the other creative Metroidvanias out there that break away from the formula. So Ori and the Blind Forest again. Guacamelee, that's a really weird one. It's still got, the Metroidvania elements, but it's so weird and different. Even Metroidvanias that are similar to existing ones, let's say Axiom Verge, they do things that establish themselves as a separate entity, something different, something new. Environmental Station Alpha, it's a Metroid clone. No matter how you look at it, it's a Metroid clone. But it still feels like there are unique elements to it. It's like Cave Story meets Metroid, and then there's a grappling hook, which is the central gameplay element of the game, I feel, and you can do some really insane things with it, like sequence breaking even. This game feels really safe. It feels way too safe even. Like it didn't really want to put in the effort to create something new, and it knows that this formula works, so it did it. Now again, that's not a bad thing, and I had fun with this game. I think the game does exactly what it should do, and that is improving on the previous iteration of the game. I'm just going to say the previous iteration of the game is Castlevania Order of Ecclesia. It takes that formula and makes it a little bit better, because it is a little bit better. Ecclesia, even though people didn't like it as much, made some of the previous games better as well. Improved on the gameplay elements, some of the UI stuff, minor details and polish, but it's still good. And still had its unique charm, just like this game. But I worry about this, because the success of this game probably means that people are going to think, oh, if you just mimic a game, it'll be fine. I don't really think that's fine, but we'll see in the future, I guess. Now, more specifically, let's talk about some of the gameplay elements that I did want to see better improvements on. The Familiar. What is the point of the Familiar? It just kind of casts spells, not very powerful, maybe it smacks things a little bit. It was cute, but what does it really add to the game? That's always what you have to ask yourself. What does X add to the game? Whether it's a story element, a visual, audio element, gameplay element, what does it add to the game? How is it significant? Familiars, just cute. Not really helpers. They don't have abilities like, you can jump on them or they boost you across things. Maybe the cat familiar can use wind attacks and boost you across a gap without having to use your time freeze. Maybe the dragon affects your other abilities, like how fast you charge your orbs, the mana consumption, maybe your time abilities. And the time ability thing as well. I guess I'll just transition into that right now. Underutilized. You don't really get to use it that often. I mean, the game itself is pretty easy. It could be harder. Maybe it's harder on the higher difficulty, I don't know. But on this difficulty that I played on, the normal one, it wasn't that hard. I gotta see what the death animation looks like too. I haven't died yet. But yeah, utilize the time mechanic more, because that's the main part of the game, right? It felt really tedious more than anything else. Like you had to wait for the enemies to get in position for you to jump on them, and then you could use it. Bosses as well, you just freeze time and dodge attacks. Why don't the bosses break out of time freeze? Why don't you have other time freeze related mechanics with the bosses? Like when you freeze time, something else happens. And the sky's the limit. So this is what I mean by the game was very safe. Took the familiar elements, used them, added something new, but we don't really get too much of that new stuff, unfortunately. If you haven't played the DS Castlevania games, I highly recommend you give it a try. Or any Castlevania games, any Metroid Egavania games, I should say. If you haven't played them and you played this first, give it a try. You're gonna see some crazy similarities. Castlevania, what I say about it is that the game is greater than the sum of its parts. Because the graphics are not that good. The music's great. The gameplay, it's questionable at times, it's okay, but overall, for some reason, it always feels like a really good experience to me. And I think this game also felt like that. Definitely came short on some fronts, especially story, but story's not important, so it doesn't really matter. Overall, this was a good game, and I recommend it if you want to play a Metroidvania, because this definitely encompasses what a Metroidvania game should have. Wow, these are probably one of my longest closing statements because I had so much to say about the story. Let's end this now then. I probably missed something. I think I missed a lot of things. I don't want to talk about it too much. I mean, I could talk about story for hours, because that's just what I do. I love talking about story and narratology and all that stupid stuff that no one cares about. But yeah, we should close the book on this. Before that though, so in Castlevania, when you die, you have this super dramatic death. Like overly dramatic death. Where you like fall behind, time slows down, and it's like blood spews out of you. I want to see if that's the case in this game. How do I unequip? Oh, let me just do this. Oh! I still don't take much damage. Well, this guy can kill me. Wait, but it's based on time freeze. Oops. Okay. Super dramatic death? Explosion of blood? Kinda. There's that slowdown and explosion, but no scream and explosion of blood. Is it because I'm in here? Maybe it's different if you die somewhere else. Okay, well, I guess that's it then. I'm Ventus, this has been Timespinner. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.